Hi, how's it going? So today I am filming what we're currently reading and what we have read the previous month. So right now I'm filming this on March 1st. So pretty much all of these books are books that my daughter and I, and in case you're not familiar, she is 10 years old and I also homeschool her in 4th grade currently. And so yeah, so the first set is going to be books that she read. So these are mostly middle grade fiction, and then we have some like graphic novels and a couple like picture books for older kids, I would say. And then we also have my reads, which are mixed. I have like actually a chapter book and a couple adult books, actually more than a couple adult books, and then a YA. So some of these are books that if you guys watch my last current reads video, some of them are books I showed that I was currently reading and I finished in February, and so did she. Okay, so this was one of her homeschool reads that I bought at the beginning of the year, I believe. So this is Osmo Unknown and the 8 Penny Woods. And so my daughter finished this book in February. And I'm going to also link everything, you guys, in the description. So this is Osmo Unknown hungers for the world beyond his small town. With the life that Little Bridge Society has planned for him, the only taste Osmo will ever get in his visits to the edge of the 4 Penny Woods where his mother hunts. Until the unthinkable happens, his mother accidentally kills a quidnock, a fearsome and intelligent creature who lives deep in the woods. So I believe this is like fantasy-ish, and my daughter said that she enjoyed it. Yeah, so it's about almost 400 pages, and yeah, it says it's kind of like charmingly dark and darkeningly charming, a fairy tale that veers between the almost familiar and the wildly unexpected. Yeah, so she finished that. And then Tristan Strong. So Tristan Strong punches a hole in the sky. So this is a series, and she's really excited to check out the second one. I actually checked this book out for her at the library just randomly. I didn't know if she'd like it, but she really liked it. And yeah, so this is also, I believe, middle grade, yeah. And it is 470 something pages. And it's about a 7th grader named Tristan Strong. He feels anything but strong since he failed to save his best friend when they were in a bus accident. All he has left is Eddie, is his journal his friend wrote stories in. Tristan is dreading the month he's going to spend on his grandparents' farm in Alabama, where he's being sent to heal from the tragedy. On his first night there, a sticky creature shows up in his bedroom and steals his journal. Tristan chases it. Is that a doll? Through the forest in a tug-of-war ensures by his grandmother's mysterious and off-limits bottle tree. So he punches a tree, accidentally ripping a hole in the sky. A volatile place with burning sea, haunted bone ships, and iron monsters. So it sounds fantasy, and she really, really liked it. The next one I've talked about a lot. So as she's completing the series, this is Unwanted Quest. She went ahead and finished this one. This is book 6. And yeah, so this is by Lisa McMann. She loves Lisa McMann. She's read all of these by her, and this is very much fantasy. And this is about 416-ish pages. Yeah, I'm not going to read it since it's not the first one, so I don't want to give something away if someone hasn't read the first one, but I will say that, it has dragons in it, and my daughter like really, really loves this series. So yeah, it's just very, very much middle grade fantasy. And Return to Atlantis. This is by Kate O'Hearn. This is book 2. I actually pre-ordered this book for her for, I believe, like maybe her birthday, which was in January. And she read it, and she really liked it. And this one also, since it's book 2, I'll just say that she very much liked it. It has 428 pages, very much fantasy. I don't know what that creature is, but yeah, so let's see. I don't know if I could say a little bit. Oh, a gargoyle. I should have known that was a gargoyle. So it has a gargoyle in it, and yeah, she really, really loves this series too. And so we're waiting for book 3. I don't know if it's out yet. Okay, and so 2 other books that she finished in February. So So she told me that she finished this one in January, not February, but it's in her book log for February. And this one is too. So sorry if I've already showed these. I don't think I have, but I know I've talked about this series before. Regardless, it's in her book log for February, so I'm not sure. But yeah, but she really loves the series. This is the Seven Wonders, and this is Legend of the Rift. And this is book, let's see. I don't know if this is the last one. So this one is 420-ish pages. So this one has a little bit more illustrations, or more, some illustrations, like some of the other ones didn't. And so it's like the protagonist is a 13-year-old Jack McKinley in this one, and discovering the statue of Zeus. So yeah, it's also just very much fantasy, and she really likes the series. And this is Curse of the Forgotten City by Alex Astor. This is book 2. This is another one she was really excited to read. She really liked the first one, and yeah. Okay, and now some graphic novels that she's really enjoyed. If I have like a set, they're all by the same author. These are a set. The Tea Dragon Society by, let's see, Katie O'Neill. And it's like, I think it's like a 3-part set. And then this one is just, I think it's a standalone, Aquacorn Cove by the same author. So I've always seen these at my library, and I thought they were really cool looking. Like, I really like the illustrations. I don't know if they're digital, but I really like them. And they're kind of just like remind me, I don't know, like maybe like kind of like kawaii-ish, just the way she draws like the people. So I wanted my daughter to check these out. I actually read this one too. So we both read the first one. I'll start with these two. The Tea Dragon Society. It's just kind of whimsical. And then I believe the second one is the Tea Dragon Festival, and then the third one is the Tea Dragon Tapestry. So the Tea Dragon Society is basically about these little creatures they call them tea dragons. And it kind of is cool because it has the seasons, like spring, summer, I guess like autumn, and then winter. And yeah, so it kind of it's divided by the season. So this graphic novel is, let's see, I don't know if I'm calling it, I think it's a graphic novel. So this one is approximately, does it not say the pages? Okay, it doesn't say how many pages it is, but it's not too, definitely over picture book size, maybe like 40 something pages. But okay, so it's basically about like a little tea dragon. These little tea dragons, they grow these like tea leaves on their head, and then like only certain people I think understand how to like get the tea, make the tea. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. I kind of, I read it, and also like this kid's I don't know, parent is a blacksmith, and so it's kind of cool because it kind of like deals with all these like trades and stuff like that, like tea making and like blacksmithing. And I don't know, it's just, honestly, I liked it. I didn't love it. I mean, it's definitely made for kids, and it just has a lot of kind of like, I don't know if you want to call it magic fantasy-ish kind of stuff in it. I actually read it because my daughter was talking about it and she was confusing me, and I kind of wanted to read it anyway, but she really, really liked it. Like, it's just very whimsical and, about these characters. So she read the whole set, but I couldn't get into the second one. So the second one I was confused because I thought it would continue, the story, and it's like a prequel. So the second one's like a prequel to the first one, and I just didn't connect with it, so I didn't finish reading it, but my daughter did. Yeah, so this is the Tea Dragon Festival, which is like a prequel. I lost interest in it, but I mean, it is a kid's. I'm not really drawn to graphic novels like, like they're obviously, they do have adult graphic novels, and I do actually own some kind of, but YA adult. The Tea Dragon Tapestry. So I didn't try this one at all, so I'm not really sure where it continues, but my daughter said she really liked all three, and it says the third story in the award-winning Tea Dragon series. I'm assuming this one would continue with the characters we met in the first one. But yeah, so it's just, I think that's the same little girl. Yeah, that her parent is, yeah, she's a blacksmith. It's going to continue with her, the story. So this one I actually might read. I'm not sure though. But I really like the colors. Look at these like colors. They really, it's like cool colors with a little, really pretty. It reminds me of like, I don't know, like maybe like 80s cartoons or something. Like some of them like Hawaii and maybe like Sailor Moonish. Some of them, yeah, I like stuff like that. But yeah, so she really enjoyed them. And so like I said, this one I think is a standalone, but it's from the same author. I'm not sure, it might be a series, but I didn't try this one. I just mainly got it for my daughter. And I know Katie O'Neill has some other books, so I like to kind of just like have my daughter read her whole collection. Here's just another, graphic novel. And this one I did think was interesting in the beginning. It's like, this book is for everyone who protects the sea and for those who will inherit the responsibility. Thank you for taking care of our beautiful world. So I think, because it's called Aquacorn, it's dealing with, the sea and possibly some environmental things. Yeah, my daughter just said she really liked it. And then in the end, it has some kind of nonfiction stuff. What are coral reefs? Where can you find them? So I like that. I like when authors mix fiction with some like nonfiction facts. And then the last two books that she read this past like month-ish are these two picture books. Now, these are picture books that I showed one of these, I think, in my last current reads video. And I told you guys I was really excited because they're by Joe Todd Stanton. And it's a series. It's like Brownstone's Mythical Collection. This is Kaya and the Monkey King. And this is Author and the Golden Rope. So these are, in my opinion, are like picture books that could be for any age. And it's especially hard, in my own opinion, to find picture books for older audiences because either the picture book is just like geared for really young kids, or I think it's a wider variety. But I find like a hard time finding, in my opinion, picture books like for older kids, and I believe that these are. So if your child still likes, I think still you could read this to a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old could read it also. But I'm just saying also, like, if you have a kid that is older and still likes to read picture books, I think this is a really good series. It's really, I didn't read these. I did read one of the last ones she had. I probably should read it real quick. But it's just very, like, deals with, like, mythology and things like that. And they're just real fun. The illustrations are really cool. And just really cool. It's like a Jade Emperor, Monkey King, Buddha Palm, Fing Han. I'm not sure how to say that, but yeah, it's just really cool. Yeah. So that's the first one. And then the Author and the Golden Rope. Again, it has like a really nice map in the beginning. Iceland, the Norse world. So this one's dealing with Norse mythology, Thor. And yeah, so, and they're all different. They're all unique, but then it's like a whole set. And I really think these have a good rereadability quality in them because they have really nice illustrations. I think there's things you could miss the first read because I did read the other ones. I keep forgetting. I need to read these before I return these to the library. But yeah, look at that. That's like awesome. It's this giant library. Wow. So they're really rich. Like, okay. So that's all of her reads, which were mixed. Some were library books and some were books that we owned that she read for homeschool and her personal reading. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what she's currently reading. And again, it is Then Wanted's, but I believe this is the last book. So she's reading book 7, and she's like a little bit more than halfway through. This is Via the Library by Lisa McMahon. So that's what she's currently reading right now. She's also reading a current book in her homeschool reading, which is Pax. And I don't have it with me because she's actually reading it while I'm filming this video. But I will definitely talk about it when she finishes it. I love Pax. So that's her homeschool read. And then this is her like personal read, which she does her personal reading usually like in the mornings and like anytime she wants. Like at night we have reading time before bed, and then also in the afternoons whenever, you know, I don't like, just whenever. And then the homeschool reading is done for 35 minutes timed after homeschool. Okay, so now let me talk about my book. So my pile is much fewer because she reads way more than me. I try a lot of books from the library. Like, you should see my library like checkouts, and then I might finish one if even, because I'm just very like picky. If I'm not really invested in a book, I'll just like, I won't finish it. Like they call it DNF it. I do not finish. Okay, let me stop rambling. So now this book I finished in January, or I don't remember if I finished it in January or at the beginning of February, but I know I didn't include it in my last current finished book. So this is Sabines Notebook. This is book 2 in the Griffin and Sabine trilogy. So these books are beautiful. These books are like kind of like the equivalent of like a picture book for an adult. And so basically they have all these little inserts of these letters of correspondence between a man named Griffin, who's an artist, and a woman named Sabine, who's also like an artist. And they draw and write each other letters. And it's a very peculiar way that they met, and it's kind of weird and hard to explain. I don't want to give anything away because these books are pretty short. But let's just say they meet in a very strange way, not physically. And then the whole correspondence is you're kind of wondering like if they're gonna actually meet in person. And I'm not gonna give too much away, but I'm just gonna say that I really, really, really love the first one. I didn't love the second one, and I really don't know if I'm going to continue with the series, but I was drawn to them because they're so artistic, and I love like, you know, I can rarely find books like this for adults. They have a lot of books like this for kids, so I was so excited, and I'm just not connected to the story of Griffin and Sabine in the second one as I was in the first one. So I'm going to have somehow fit them in a video in the future where I talk about the first one, then the second one. So because I don't want to give it away by saying too much what happens in the second one if you haven't read the first one. But I will say I could believe that the first one could stand alone on its own and just have mystery at the end. But then it is a trilogy, but then again, I'm kind of seeing where the author is going, and I'm just not sure. It's just not what I thought, but it doesn't mean it's a bad book. And I still think some people might like that kind of the path that the author, in my opinion, has taken, which is a little bit less realistic than I thought it would be, I guess is what I want to say without giving too much away. Still think it was a beautiful experience. I really liked the cutouts and, you know, not cutouts, but the interactive elements of it. But yeah, so this is the second one. I finished it. And this is another second book that I finished. So this is the Hardwood Hotel. Oh, I just want to say, I think I already said, but yeah, this one is definitely for adults. And then this is the Hardwood Hotel, The Greatest Gift, Book 2 by Callie George. So this is actually a chapter book. And yes, like I'm an adult reading chapter books, but that's okay. Because sometimes I just want a lighthearted, cute little story, and I don't care. I can finish this in a couple of days and it's fine. And I loved it. So my library, I had to request the second one. They had the first one, and I want to buy them. So they have 4. The Hardwood Hotel is a story about a cute little animal hotel. It's named the Hardwood Hotel. It's so cute. It is the main protagonist is named Mona, and she's a mouse. And I don't want to like give too much away. See, I don't have the first one in front of me because I don't own it. I'm going to buy it though, and I'm going to talk about them in a future video so I can give you guys a better perspective about the whole series. It's really cute. They have illustrations, and Mona the mouse is a sweet little mouse. Like, she's so sweet. She like literally she's never like said anything mean to anyone, and I really like vulnerable sweet characters. I just do. And she's really sweet, and so basically she stumbles upon this Hardwood Hotel. And I don't want to give too much away by saying how, because I don't know what the dust jacket, the back says on the first one, so I don't want to spoil anything. But let me just say, if you like animal stories, friendship type stories, like very lighthearted, frog and toadish, the wind in the willows ish, but even sweeter than that. And yeah, so I'm really excited. I don't know if my daughter is going to be interested because, she loves fantasy, but I'm going to encourage her to read them, and I want to get the whole set. And I believe it goes by seasons. Like this one's, I think, the winter one, but it doesn't say that, but I think it is. And so I think there's But yeah, so really, really cute series. Would make really cute read-alouds, would make really cute books for a lot of ages, I think. Okay, so now this book I did talk about, I believe, in my last current reads update. It's YA. It's The Murderers Ape by Jacob Wagelis, but I did finish it. I think I was like halfway through, I believe, if my memory's not faulting me. But so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but basically it's about a gorilla named Sally Jones and her friend, who is kind of not really her owner. They're more like companions because she was like stolen. Someone like took her when she was like really young, and she doesn't even remember how she like ended up, I don't think, living among humans. So she basically was stolen kind of like to live in captivity-ish, but then she ends up kind of being a partner, friend to a ship captain. And he is falsely accused of murder. And that's why it's called The Murderers Ape. It's not gory. It's not like about like this crazy murder. It's this really big misunderstanding, and she's trying to get to the bottom of it. So it's very much adventure, very much mystery. I would say this is definitely, I see why it's YA. It's not like anything scary in my opinion in it, but I definitely, like, if my daughter wanted to read it, I would say she could, because she reads some YA, but I guess it just depends. But I didn't really see anything that struck out that was just something that was inappropriate to me. But there's a couple like innuendos kind of about something that may be kind of like a topic for YA, but really I could see if this would be middle grade, I could see that too. But yeah, so I really, really, really enjoyed it. Now that I finished it in February. I really loved it. It's character and plot driven, and I really ended up loving Sally Jones as like she's also very kind, very loyal to her captain. She calls him captain, and she calls him chief. I'm just getting crazy. He's a ship I keep thinking captain chief, but he's like a ship captain, but she calls him chief, and he operates a cargo boat. So yeah, so it's just very interesting, and it also has some illustrations. It's like a writer illustrator. Looks like almost like litho prints or some type of printmaking, but he could have done them digitally or with a pen, I'm not sure, and ink. But they're very nice, and it just adds a little bit nice, cute element to the story at the beginning of each chapter. It's like 575 pages, and the pacing's pretty slow. It's not like a fast-paced book. It's a lot of like internal thoughts of Sally Jones, which to me I always forgot that she was a gorilla. I really loved it. Really loved it. Okay, so an adult book that I read was Convenience Store Woman, and I'm probably gonna mess up her name. Sayaka, and then last name Murata. Sakura Murata. Okay, stop. Okay, it's very short. Some people call these like novellas, I think, but I don't know. And I think it was translated from Japanese. So it's very short. Yeah, it's translated from Japanese, and it is only 160 pages, but it feels much longer. I don't know. She's a very good writer. Okay, so this book is very deep. Like, it's about a woman who works, of course, because you can tell from the title. It's about a woman, I forgot her name, who works, Kiko. Kiko. She works in a convenience store. And so she's like, the store is her whole world. And that is where she's meant to be. She feels like it's just everything to her. She's pretty much worked there from high school on, and she's in her 30s. And it pretty much takes off in her 30s, where she's still working at the store, and she's kind of dealing with society's judgments. So it's kind of like society's judgments on her. And what I liked about this book as a whole is you feel that the author was trying to make a point, not really political, but more social, about society and how it works and how it functions. And this is based in Japan, but I still see, of course, and I live in the U.S., I still see very common elements with that. So I thought it was like one of those books that you read and you really think about after, about the judgments placed on her by society, the judgment she placed on herself, sort of like feeling you need to be competitive, but yet on the other hand, not giving in and kind of being who you are versus not being who you are, and like giving in kind of wrestles with that. And honestly, like the character wasn't like my favorite character, like as far as I found myself reading this book because it was interesting. I didn't really relate to the main character or the protagonist like as much as I did with Sally Jones the gorilla, or with a lot of other main characters, but that's okay. Like, I don't have to like a character. It's not that I didn't like her, but I don't, maybe it's only because it's also 160 pages. Like, it's kind of more focused on her work and like a little bit of her like home life and stuff like that, of course. But yeah, so I highly recommend this book to anyone who kind of likes character studies, character pieces, also dealing with societal issues and social norms and things like that. I really enjoyed it. It's Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia, I think it's Delia or Delia Owens. Yeah. And so I actually just finished this book a few days ago, and I already watched the movie. I'm so excited to watch the movie because I really, really love the book. And I will say before I get into it that the movie I thought was really good. They made changes quite a bit. I mean, they made a good amount of changes, not like a insane amount, but I see why they made the changes that they made because of time, because the book, was so like detailed. So yeah. So, and yeah, like some of the characters I think could have been better. Let's see. Could have been like different actors or something. Like, I don't think some of the actors that they chose for the movie, I didn't really picture how they were, but I think that like the casting could have been a little bit better, but that's just being picky. As a whole, I really liked the film, and I really, really, really love the book. Oh my gosh. I want to say, first I'm going to tell you that it's like 350 pages, and I want to say that this book I actually tried before. I actually tried this book like a year ago, and I don't know what it was, but I just wasn't drawn into it because I didn't read far enough. I kind of thought at first it was too many characters. And it kind of starts off with a lot, like a family worth of characters, but then it kind of like gets more into just the main protagonist, whose name is Kaya. And so that's the books I really, really personally connect with, are books where it's like focused on one person and you get their inner dialogue. Even though it's focused on Kaya, who's the protagonist, it's not first person. But that didn't bother me. I thought it would at first, but I kind of got into it. Also, it goes back and forth. It's like a dual timeline from Kaya's childhood all the way to her growing up, versus going back and forth to the future where a murder took place. So, for years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in the late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. So, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes where she yearns to be touched and loved. When two young men from town are intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. Okay, so it goes back and forth, which I actually found a hard time getting into at first. I'm not really big on dual timeline books. I prefer to stay in the present or the past. But I got used to it, and it kind of started to have a flow after a while. It wasn't like back and forth each chapter, but once I got into the vibe of it, like, I was fine. But I just want to say that Kaya is one of my favorite protagonists. She's so vulnerable. She is abandoned, like it says here. You know, she survived for years alone in the marsh. So she's like abandoned, and she does literally survive alone. And nature is her friend. Like, nature becomes her friend and is like what she lives for. And that's another thing I connected with the character. Like, not me necessarily as, like, personally, but it was just such a charming character of reading her connection with nature. And I loved the experience of going through that with her, of just, like, you know, she was just a very fascinating character. And then there's, like, poetry in the book. And the murder, like, it's not like a scary murder like I mentioned, like in the Murderers Ape. It's not, so, because I don't read, like, murder books. So don't let that scare you if you think it did not give me nightmares. It did not scare me. The murder, I don't want to say how it happened or like but it doesn't go into detail. It's not like reading like a CSI or really like intense crime mystery or something like that. Like, it's not like that. The murder to me almost feels like a second thought. The murder is so irrelevant to me was so irrelevant to me as a reader in this book. It gets more a part of the plot in the end when she kind of catches up, you know, because she's on, you know, they think she did it or whatever. But then you kind of like get involved in it a little bit more, but it's still just very light, like the mention of the details and stuff. It's not, yeah. So that wasn't, yeah. And so she is very sensitive, very intelligent. When you're reading a book, you're seeking knowledge, and if you're educating children, like, you're teaching them to seek knowledge and having learning going on all around you. That's another thing that happens in this book. Kaya is constantly like seeking knowledge from the world around her, and she's constantly like growing as a person. And I just loved this book, and I definitely plan on buying it. This is a library copy. I absolutely plan on rereading it, and I made a playlist. I might link it in my description. I know this is like a book channel, but homeschool book channel, but it's like, I thought it was like fun. So I've been having these ideas lately to make playlists for books I really love. And this book was just like, the playlist for the movie was a live classical music I found. But then there is like the main song by Taylor Swift. It's like Carolina or something like that, which was a pretty song. But I used those in the playlist because they were already associated with the movie, but then I added my own. So yeah, I don't know, just fun. And I plan on doing the Goldfinch next. But okay, so now what I'm currently reading is a middle grade book called They Threw Us Away, the Teddy Saga by Daniel, I think it's Kraus. And this one is 237 pages, and I've only read about 3 chapters. And this was a book I got as a gift for Christmas from like my husband and daughter. And yeah, so I just started it. I'm just not sure yet. It's like, it's intriguing me enough to read more. Let me just talk about it, but who knows if I'll finish it, because I'm, you know, but yeah. Basically, it reminded me of Toy Story, and it kind of reminded me of like the Velveteen Rabbit. When Buddy wakes up in the middle of a garbage dump, he's filled with certain awareness. He's a teddy bear. He spent time in a store waiting for his future to begin, and he is meant for the arms of a loving child. Now he knows one more thing. Something has gone terribly wrong. Soon he finds other discarded teddy bears. Though they aren't sure how their luck's soured, they all agree that they need to get back to the store if they're ever to fulfill their destinies. So yeah, it's about like toys who somehow were discarded. And in the beginning, like, you know, you don't really know how, and I don't think they do either. And so it kind of has that mystery aspect to it. But then mainly, it's just like the story about, you know, these animals who they really want to be like toys. But it's going to progress. I'm not sure if they're all going to continue to have that view or desire. And it kind of like piques my interest. And yeah, so I'm a huge Toy Story fan. I like all of the Toy Story movies, and so that's what it reminds me of. And so I don't even know how to characterize it, because it's not realistic, because it's, you know, it's like animals who can talk, but yet it's kind of more, you know, like realism-ish. It's not like fantasy. But yeah, so we'll see. But I just started. I'm excited to continue. And yeah, so that's everything for our current reads for now. Thanks so much to everyone who watches, likes, and subscribes, and I really appreciate it so much. Have a good day or night. Bye.